What up guys, in today's video we are going to talk about the lead conversion script, aka the sales scripts. Pretty much is the flow of a sales conversation, right? So this is going to be the most in-depth video that I ever make about this topic, just because in reality there's so many areas that you can cover in terms of what's happening in a sales call or a sales conversation. So what we're going to go through today is going to be who to present your offer to, the sales flow, right? We're going to give you the exact framework that we use in our agency to close 5-figure months worth of deal. And we're going to show you how to handle objections and what kind of objection there is in a sales call. And we're also going to give you a word by word objection handling scripts as well at the end of this video, so make sure that you stick around. We're going to show you how to ask and actually take payments. Okay, so that's very important as well, that you're going to have a frictionless method on how to actually do that. Okay, first thing first, we're going to show you a couple of books to help you level up yourself aside from taking this video and this course. And I also learned from this book myself, right? Pitch Anything by Oren Clough. Hopefully I said his name right. It's the first book that I encounter about sales. He have a good way of explaining how to pitch and how to sales, right? And sales EQ is very important, how to actually recognize, trigger and cue. You know, when you disappoint people, when people feel off and when people feel on about what you say, you should be able to pick up those cues. Sprint selling is actually a framework that we're actually using in this course right now, and a framework that I use every day. You know, sprint situation, problem, implication, and need and payoff. So definitely check that out. And the Wolf of Wall Street, the straight line methods from Jordan Belfort, is to make sure that you know how to keep the conversation flow in a straight line instead of talking about golf or goldfish. All right, so we're gonna start off with who to present your offer to, right? Just FYI guys, you should not present your offer to everyone. What it does is that it's gonna make you devalue its worth, hurt your brand, and most importantly hurt your mindset, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, how I see it is you want to structure it like this diagram that I make. You have your offer, and everyone that come onto a Zoom call with you, or a sales call, or a phone call with you, whatever that is, everyone that come to contact with you, you're going to break them down to two categories. Should you make an offer to this person? 50-50, right? Not exactly 50-50 in terms of volume, but 50-50 in terms of like your procedure, right? Your ratio. Some you make an offer, some you don't. The one that you do make an offer, you end up closing them, which is the enrollment process, and they end up rejecting you, which is not accepting, right? You're going to have some rejection. No one's going to close at 100%. And this is the criteria you should come up with as a company, as a brand, as a business, in terms of who not to make an offer to. It's easier to actually pick criteria of who not to make an offer to rather than who you should make an offer to. This is for us personally, so take it with a grain of salt, and this is just our 2 cents. We're not going to make an offer to anyone that we can't diagnose a problem to, like if they don't have any problem, or we can't really agree on a problem. If we in the sales conversation, I think, hey, this is your problem, and then they think, oh no, this is my problem, right? If we can't agree on a problem, that could be a red flag there, so we wouldn't make an offer to this person. It have a problem that we can't solve, right? So for example, if they have a family problem, right? Say, you know, I got 6 daughters and 3 wives, right? So I just don't have the time of the day to actually commit to this. I can't help you, right? I can't help you with your family problem. Personality and vibe, if they come in late into the call without apologizing, they're rude in the call. Again, right, this is really personal in terms of your brand and your business, so really just don't copy me on this one. Value and brand, so if they come in, the value wasn't there, the branding was not there, like it's not aligned, we're not going to take that as well. And respect, if they have the money, the value was there, they have a problem, but they like so rude, that's not for me either. So as you grow bigger, you can add more to this list, and you can choose who you want to work with rather than who you can work with, right? Again, guys, if you're watching this and you have no client and you're just starting out, definitely narrow this list down to a lot less, maybe 1 or 2 points. All right, I get to choose because I'm at this point of my business that I really genuinely want to work with who I like and who I want to work with rather than who I can work with. All right, we'll move on to the sales flow, right? This is going to be a big one. A sales flow is a series of question and answer a dialogue, right? Not just question and answer by yourself between you and the prospects to establish a fit. Mean that from both ends. Again, this is a two-party, two-way street thing. I want you to think of it like a doctor versus a pharmacy salesman. You see here, I make this picture. A pharmacy salesman always go up to the presentation or the meeting very excited, too energetic, a little bit of a cheerleader, I would say, or a little bit like a entertainer or a clown that would just go, hey, what's up, guy? Right? This is our medicines. This is our brand. You know, we'll have the cheapest price. We'll beat all our competitor. That is too much. Don't want to come off too salesy. That's the last thing that you want to, right? You want to be neutral and speak less than the client, right? If you use Zoom, right, we have this phantom note taker that we'll mention in the sales call environment that it actually can show you how much you speak in that call, right? You should be speaking less than the prospects. Ideally, you should be taking note just like the doctor and just like not speak too much, like just ask question and wait for answer, probing and clarifying and agreeing, right? So be more like a doctor instead of the pharmacy salesman, right? And this is the flow, right? It's a diagram. First thing that you want to go up with is this frame. Should be able to draw on the screen. I can't draw on the screen right now. You should start off with the frame and then the intention, the current situation, which is what they're doing right now, the problem and implication. Implication meaning the side effects of that problem, right? That's what the implication is. To give you an example, a problem when I have a sore knee, but the implication is make me to unable to dance or do kickboxing, right? So that's the implications. We're going to go through in depth with each stage of this, really detailed to make sure that you guys get this because it's very important. The temperature check, the presentation, the permission to sell, the motivation, the price drops, the ask, the objection, which is the concern and addressing it, and then the close. It's pretty much like 12 steps, but again, we're going to go through each of this one by one in detail and make sure that you make note of this. I would recommend you print it out, print this diagram out and have it in front of your computer so that you can actually follow the flow and follow the framework instead of following the script, which is word by word, right? In reality, just note that none of the scripts should be followed word by word in an actual real life sales call. So before we start, couple of note here, right? You should have a little bit of rapport. Rapport building should occur before the sales flow, and it should take less than 60 seconds. Right? So for me personally, just like, hey, appreciate you jumping on the call. So where you from? You know, oh, you're from Sydney. I heard it's crazy out there right now with the weather. Then that's it, and then move on. That should be it. Where you from? How's the weather? Oh, right. You know, you look great. I really like that t-shirt. Just make sure you be genuine about it. Not every question will be answered perfectly, so we're gonna give you a bunch of questions, especially like let's say this one will give you a couple of different questions because we know that not every question is gonna get answered perfectly. So the key is to understand why you ask it, is why I'm gonna explain in detail why you ask all this question, but so that you can rephrase and then reframe the question appropriately, and then you can decide, and also it let you decide whether or not to skip the question entirely, right? So it's very important that you know when to ask it again or when to actually skip it completely, right? Always answer objection with an agreement, like, oh yeah, 100%, right? Or definitely, right? Never ever fight with a prospect. Never do that. Either can be rich or you can be right. Just try to be rich, right? Don't fight with them. And go into the call prepared with neutral emotion and with information about the prospect. So you should know their business name, their full name, if they come in with their business partner, just basic info like that. So this training, this material can be passed down to your appointment setter, to your closer. It could be more efficient, right? You can literally pass this video to your closer so then he or she can help you close more deal. So we're gonna start off with the beginning, the first one, which is the first of the step, right? Which is the frame. The frame is to establish agenda or the flow of the conversation, right? So you want to set the stage. For example, in the beginning of this video, I'll tell you the outline on what we're going to cover in this video, so you keep watching. If you're interested, you keep watching. So we're going to outline key 1, key 2, and key 3 of what we're going to go through. Same thing, what's going to happen here. Say, hey, John, so how this call will go is that I'm going to ask you some questions to make sure that there's a fit, right, between us. If that makes sense, I'll show you what our system look like, and then we can go from there. Is that okay? It's really short and really direct to the point. And the second thing that this show is that you're not really there to sell. It just really take the pressure off the prospect, saying like, hey, look, I'm not here to sell you anything. A big word here. If there's a fit, we'll show you around what we have. And then we'll go from there. So by taking the pressure off the prospects, they really can spend time to let their guard down and really like relax around you, and that's going to help you further along in the sales process. Really, you should call it qualification process rather than sales process, but the next step is the intention, right? You want to know, so why are they here? So there's a couple of questions that I normally use to start this. So what brings you to a call like this with someone like myself? Ha 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 ha. So like, hey, like, you know, what brings you to a call like this and speak to someone like myself? Like, what do you need help with? Right, exactly. And what motivates you to jump to a call like, there's just 3 different ways you can ask a question like this. You're gonna get, all right, because you call me. So like if you cold call someone or you're doing an outbound, let's say you cold email them or you cold LinkedIn them, you're gonna get, all right, because you guys reach out to me, which is like quite ignorant, or to be honest. So it seemed like you're a very busy guy. I appreciate your time being here. Like what I'm trying to ask here, John, is that what you try to get out from a call like this? Just agree to them and just say like, all right, yeah, you're right, we did call you. What do you try to get out like when you jump on a call like this? Because I know you're a busy guy. On other way, if you run ad and you're doing inbounds, you get, oh, I want more information about XYZ, I want to know more about XYZ, or I actually want the freebie that you offer on the ad. Again, this is vague answer. You want to get the real intention, and you can say, ha, look, 100% agree, I'm happy to walk you through XYZ in a bit. What I'm trying to ask here is, what are you looking for in terms of outcome? Like the big picture. Like, what are you looking for in terms of outcome? And then they say, all right, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then you get to the real intention. So make sure that you guys get to the real intention before you actually move on to next steps, right? Because that's very important. Like, you don't want to go like, I want more information and just move on to next steps, right? That's not clear. That's very vague. Yeah, don't move on until you both can define what is the outcome or intention of the call, right? So you always start with an outcome, then you go down to how you could achieve that outcome. Always start with the goal, right? So the next step is the current situation. So what are you currently doing right now for that outcome? Very simple, very straightforward. Right? What are you currently doing right now? So if they want to lose 10 pounds, what are they currently doing right now? And the next step, which is the problem and the implication. Like I said, guys, Sony is a problem. Implication is unable to dance or unable to walk or unable to do whatever they want, right? That's the implication. So when they actually doing something right now, so this is all connecting. They are not separate. It's one flow. I'll probably just give you like a little bit of a role play so it makes sense. So let's say someone said, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds. So what are they currently doing right now? So, all right, they try a bit of a diet and they try to work out by themselves in their home gym, right? So, oh, how long have you been trying to do that? Like, how long have you tried this diet and try working out by yourself for? You can answer like 6 months, right? 6 months so far. Whoa, okay. How is that working out so far? So again, there's going to be 2 outcomes. They either say, okay, like working out okay, which again, they refuse to mention problem because they have ego or trust problem. Like if they say okay, that means they don't feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable, right? Because when they open about their problem with you, they're gonna be like vulnerable. They're gonna be exposed, right? You're gonna be like able to like sell them on anything. So the trust have to be there, or just personally is ego. Some people have ego. They say like, you know. So what you say at this stage is just say, okay, what could be better, right? What could be the improvement here, John? Like if you say okay, what do you mean by that, right? And then what could be better? And the other one is just really straight to the point with a direct question. Well, if you say it okay, what's stopping you from like losing 10 pounds like tomorrow? Because you did say you try 6 months and you did say you try to lose 10 pounds. Why are we here? What's stopping you from losing 10 pounds tomorrow? Does that make sense, John? Like, you get my question there? So that's how I would go if someone like didn't mention a problem, right? But if they mention a problem, by the way, everyone would have a problem. Just giving you a little bit of a hint here. I'll put that into highlight. If they jump on a call, guys, they always have a problem. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on a call, right? People are busy. If they spend time to be on that call, they have a problem, right? If they mention a problem, we say, oh, what do you mean by that? If they say like, oh, it's just not working so well, well, okay. Oh, like when you say not working so well, what do you mean by that? When you said XYZ, what do you mean by that? So the next step, once you're actually able to define, right, and articulate the problem clearly, you want to ask for the motivation, right? The motivation is like, why now? If they try to do it in the last 6 months and then they have this roadblock, why now? The whole 6 months, why now that you decide to take action or speak to somebody about it? This is the question. So just curious here, why now after the time mentioned that you decide to do something about it? This is why this question is so important. You ask them, how long have you been trying to do this for? So if they try to do it for a long time, this gives this question a lot of weight. For example, if someone try to do something for like 2 years, oh wow, 2 years is a long time. Why now after 2 whole years that you decide to do something about it? This question actually set the stage for this question. Again, like I said, everything here is very, very interconnect. So normally you get, if the time frame is long, you get like 2 year or 5 year. If the time frame is long, right, you normally get an answer of like, oh, I'm sick of staying this way. Or you get really, really personal reason. You get like, oh, my daughter is really sick, or my mom is passing away really soon. So you get really, really personal reason if the time frame is like long. And that personal reason, whether someone passed away in their family, is a trigger that make them taking action right now. Or when they lose the job, or when they have a new baby. This really personal reason that trigger this action that they're willing to take. This is something that you should note down on your notepad right now, right? This personal reason, because that is something that you're gonna use later on in the call. Just remember that. We're gonna use that later on in the call in a bit, right? If you get an answer like someone only trying it for a month or a week, it's really short time, right? And it's not gonna work well in terms of like making this question heavy. So you're gonna switch the frame a bit when it comes to this question. So just curious here, why now that you decide to get an assistant? I mean, like, you only just try it for 1 week, right? It seems like a bit short, don't you think? Why not try to do it yourself first, right? So when someone just been trying out for like a week, like it's just short. Why don't you just try for like a month or 2 months first before you come to this call? Like, why come to this call so early, right? So now you switch the frame of the call. And the answer you normally get from this is that I want to fast track. I want to skip the trial and error. I want a coach. I want a personal assistant, right? I want a one-on-one help. So this is like when they actually say something like, you know, it's different answer because it's different frame of question, okay? So the motivation is quite important, guys. Like by now, if you identify the problem and the motivation, like that's enough to actually like sell somebody a solution or sell somebody something. So this is why this is so powerful. By now, you should be able to articulate their problem and their motivation, which is in sales term, mean the gap, like gap selling, right? If you look into Google or YouTube, everyone is talking about this, right? Just knowing, having a state, right? Their current state and the future state, right? If you could separate that with problem and motivation, right? That is your gap. And your job is to actually bridge that gap with your offer and your solution. It sounds very simple, but it takes a lot of practice to actually polish it and get it done properly, okay? So this is how you do it. All right, just so we're on the same page here, it sounds like you want outcome in order to motivation. Is that right? Like you can establish a goal and a motivation. Example, like just so we're on the same page here, it sounds like you want to implement a new automated system in place so that you don't have to rely on one lead channel like what you have right now. Is that right? So you articulate their goal and their motivation. Just so we're on the same page here, it sounds like you want to lose 20 pounds to be fit for your daughter's wedding. Is that right? And the cue that you look for here, guys, is that you want to hear a big, yes, exactly, right? That's exactly, yeah, right. That's exactly, right? So this is the cue. If you hear that from the prospects, which is the person on the Zoom call with you, if you hear that, that means you done a very good job, articulate the outcome, the motivation, and the problem. So you want to be looking for that cue. If you hear that cue, you should proceed to the next step. And if you don't hear that cue, hey, John, am I missing something here? I feel like I'm not hitting the spot here on why we're on this call. Like, I wouldn't move on until you got like even a soft yes or like yes, exactly. Yeah, right? So that is the cue to move on. And when I said move on, I said move on to next step, right? Which is permission to sell. Now, the permission to sell is pretty much just saying it's a transition to your offer, which is the previous lesson, right? So in the previous lesson, we talked about how to make your offer so good that people feel stupid saying no to, right? How to make it unique, clever, and neat, and how to make it, most importantly, how to make it irresistible. But you're going to start off by saying, hey, look, I think what we have might help. Would you mind if I show you unique name process, right? If I show you our ABC system, XYZ system, what's that look like? The reason why we want to use might, we still want to say, look, this is not 100% yet. We might be able to help you. If you like it, you can tell me if you like it. An immature person at this stage would just say, oh yes, Mr. like, sir, I can help you with this. Like, I can help you with this. And then they go all in with their products. Now, you should hear a big yes, please. If you identify the problem, the outcome, they feel like you understood the situation, their pain point, should be a big yes from here. Easy yes, right? And then you would go ahead and, present your presentation. And with Q&A, right, question and answer. Once you present it, they're gonna have like nuanced questions, especially when it's come to high level. Well, how does the AI work? How does the phone number work? Like, what happens if somebody call and it doesn't redirect to my phone, right? You need to know all this question, and you will know until you get to an sales call, and then people were just asking like the same question, right? Yeah, that should last for 5 to 12 minutes. Unfortunately, we're not gonna go through that in depth on this call because we just spent like the last lesson covering how to present like your offer. And yeah, you should refer to that, right? So we're not go ahead and skip through that. The next thing to do is to do a temperature check. The temperature check is to check how they feel about what you just present. There's no point of giving the price or pushing them to do anything else if they don't like it, if they think it's not a fit. So now it's become on their side. The first part of the conversation is your side. See if you can help. Now it's become about them, whether that they like your solution or not, okay? So hopefully that makes sense, right? So this is a pre-objection handling phase, right? This is what we used to see if they like the offer, like I said. And if they don't like the offer, this is the best time to handle the objection without releasing the price. So you said, okay, since there's no question left, given that you do all the Q&A already, mind if I ask you a quick question? How do you feel about the system so far, John? Do you like it? Right? They'll say, yeah, I like it. Then obviously you don't want a yes or no, you want a 1 to 10, right? You say, well, on a scale from 1 to 10, right? From 1 being complete trash and 10 being like, this is exactly what I look for. How do you feel like you sit on that scale, John? See, you notice like I add a little bit of pause, right? Just pause here, making sure that you have fun with it and you're not too stiff, you're not too aggressive when you ask stuff like this. Yeah, if the number is too high or too low, it's like, normally you get 7, 8 here, right? Because 7, 8 is like, where people default to the most. If the number like 1, 2, 3, well, that's too low. Or the number like 9 or 10, that's too high. So you want to ask like, why? What makes you say that? Interesting, But don't take offense of it. Like if people say it's low, 1 or 2 or 3, it's like, just don't take offense. Just, what makes you say that? Being neutral, remember? And extracts objection, the real objection, right? So I'm going to come back to that for a sec, right? Definitely you don't have to do this. You can just use whatever frame you want. You don't want, so what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to say like 1 being a complete trash and 10 being like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. You can just insert your own thing here. You could just say 1 being like, it's not working. 10 being like, it's like professional. Right, so you could just use your own thing there. You don't have to use my own label. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you get anything 7 and upward, this means they feel good, like an 8 or a 9 or 7, right? You should proceed to drop the price, which is the next stage. And 7 and below, you should address and handle objection right then and there. So this is how you do it. What's the difference between an 8 or a 10 for you? Now, the reason why this is an example, right? But like, let's say someone says it's a 6 or 5. Well, what's the difference between a 5 and a 10 for you, John? Let them speak. Now, for me personally, sometimes, guys, I'm also doing this to people that like saying an 8 or 9. Because with experience and skill, like attending and having hundreds of sales calls by now. Some people, they'll just give you a high number to get to the price. They just want to know the price, like how much is it? That's one reason. The other reason, they just want to please you. They're a people pleaser. They're just afraid to, like, they're a people pleaser, right? They was like afraid, but they really not a real buyer, really give you quite low, to be honest. I get close from a 7 and an 8, and I used to don't close, like not get a close from people that mentioning like 9 or 10. Like they just say that because they're a people pleaser. Liking something and buying it is different. So this is more like making sure that they like it first, right? It's the first step to buying it, but it's not necessarily mean that. So make sure that if you smell that people are saying it for the sake of giving you a high number and just for the sake of saying it, definitely you still want to extract this, right? What's different between a 9 or a 10 for you? To move to the next step, you drop your price, right? Which is naming your worth, right? And presenting your price is, again, we'll cover this in the previous lesson, but you want to do it in 2 parts, right? I'm not going to go through it in depth. Again, we'll cover this already in the previous lesson. But what you want to do, let's say your price is 4K. You want to give 2 payments of 2K or 1 payment of 3K. You want to actually give an incentivized discount for a one-time payment of the whole thing so that you have more cash collected for your business, right? So you want to actually frame it as an assumptive clause, right? So instead of like, do you want to do this, right? Which is a closing question, right? Do you want to do this? Right? It's a closing question, right? Yes or no. Or you say, all right, so we have 2 options here, which is 2 payments of 2K or 1 payment of 3K, which assuming that they already want to close already. It's assuming they already want to close, they just have to pick one option, right? So it's also an assumptive clause as well. Now that you name your price, it's time to actually go in for the ask. Again, you don't want to be pushy. You say, so John, what do you want to do from here? Right? You give them option A, option B, which is right, the price drop. And you say, so what do you want to do from here? Now, in the perfect unicorn rainbow universe, they would say, I'll pick option A. Here's my card. Let's go. Right? That's really most of the case, guys. They would say, they're going to have objection, right? I have to think about it. I need to speak to my wife, yada, yada, right? We're going to go through that. But before we go through that, you need to understand that you have to have different way to ask people, which is what we call the 6th level of commitment, right? So this is the 6th level of commitment, and there's many ways to skin a cat. So there's many ways to close the deal when you are willing to be flexible. Again, like I said, there's many ways. If you break down your closing commitment to 6 different smaller commitments, it's easier for you to close the deal and ask for that commitment, right? So one of the tools we use is to help lubricate our ask is by breaking them down to a smaller commitment. We'll list them down to PIF, right? PIF, pay in full, payment plan. You know what payment plan is, right? Deposit, refundable deposit, card on file, and a follow-up appointment. The reason why I put it into a triangle, which is a pyramid like this guy, is that you can see here on the top part of the triangle is a PIF, right? That means it should be like the starting point, but because it's at the top, that means it's actually a very small proportion of people willing to accept that. And that's got nothing to do with you or your offer. It's just that it needs a lot of money for people to achieve that. So that's why PIF is the first one that you always try to ask and try to get, but it's actually a very small percentage of people that able to do that, right? Willing and able to do that. Now the follow-up call is the weakest one, right? That's why it should be like, if I have a call, 100% of the time, not even 99, 100% of the time, people are willing to have a follow-up call if you ask them. It's really easy ask. So what we do here is I'm going to show you how to ask them all of these stages, and then we can go to the objection, because you need to understand the different stage of asking first before the objection, okay? So to start, you want to ask with permission. So what do you want to do from here, right? So you give them the power in terms of what to do. And then if they want to do it, they should ask something like, oh, how do you take payment? Like, do you take card? Or what's your onboarding process like, right? They say yes, right? Do you take card? You take Master, you take, American Express, right? this is how you actually do the ask. Like when you get a yes from them, you say, so normally you want to ask, you want to start with the biggest ask. That's very important. And then which is a PIF or a payment plan, right? And then you want to have frame, authority, and clarity. And more importantly, that what I didn't mention is that you want to give them a reason. Now, this book called Influenced by a guy named Robert Cardini, I think. He say, if there's a woman waiting in the line, right, to use a printer, right, and she's at the back of the line, if she actually skipped the line and she give people a reason saying, hey, I need to use the printer because, and then she gives them a reason. Doesn't even matter what reason, just because she used the word because, and then the reason afterward. Most people are willing to let her skip the line because she have a reason, instead of her just going and skip the line. I think the difference is very a lot. 17% of people, if she don't give a reason, it's like 17%. But if she give a reason, it was 68%. You need to give people a reason by using the word because. So we want to get your result ASAP. And it also seems like I have a slot for tomorrow for one-on-one onboarding you personally, Mr. John. Let's process the price. Let's process the 2K right away so we can proceed to schedule the onboarding call and send you the welcome email. Like, this is the reason, right? So we can proceed and send you the onboarding, like the onboarding call and the onboarding email, right? So deposit, right? So yeah, 100%. So I know you want to do this, but you can't fully commit right now. In that case, why don't we put a small deposit down to hold your spot and send you a welcome email and access to all of our private material at the same time? Like, this sentence is really agree with them first and then ask for a small deposit and then give them a reason so that we can send you the welcome email and access to the private material at the same time. So that's an example for PIF and deposit. You just have to like give them some sort of reason for payment plans and cards on file, all that stuff, right? Just really script it out. Like, most of them are the same reason, really just getting you result quickly, getting you start ASAP, so that we're not wasting any time here. So really that's the frame that I normally go with when it comes to asking. Now, give people a simple reason or any reason at all for your ask. So the next stage here is the objection and how to handle them. So first of all, guys, before you actually get to this stage, I really want to reframe your mindset and your perception on objection. First of all, in the perfect world, people will accept your offer without objection. However, we don't live in a perfect world. You will get objections, so you need to expect them, right? It's going to be part of the sales process, whether you like it or not. Like I said, it's very rare that people come in with no objection, right? I want to reframe objection to concern, right? The only reason why I'm still listing it as objection in this video, because I want people to know what I mean. When I said objection, when it comes to sell, a lot of people know what that means. But we should be reframing them to concern. Every buyer have right to have concern about high ticket purchase, right? Especially when they're buying something like 2K, 3K upward, right? It's not a $20 purchase. Right, it's not an ice cream or a meal. This shows that they are a savvy business owner because they have concern, because they're smart, right? They're smart about it. So instead of avoiding them, we should learn to embrace and appreciate their concern. If someone come into me and spend like $5,000 with me with no question, I need to ask, like, why did you do that? Like, maybe they watch my YouTube channel and then they build all this trust, which like makes sense. But if they don't know me before and then they just come in with no objections, like, something is off here. Like, something is off. They should have like concern and question about what they're getting themselves into, you know? Unless they're a billionaire. You know, most of the time I do have that because I have a YouTube channel and have a big educational system that builds trust. That can happen if the trust is high. For you guys, you shouldn't get that. Like, every call expect an objection, right? Objection is really just concern. And instead of handle them, we should address them. Concerns and how to address concern. And we have framework and a flow chart, just like the sales flow. We have a framework. It's gonna start with the difference between this, actually a loop, right? So it's actually a repeat loop. That's mean, remember we have like 5 or 6 different asks, right? We're gonna go through the loop again, and then we're gonna go through the loop again. If they said they can't do it, then we're gonna go through the loop again and ask for card on file or refundable deposit, right? Depending on what objection there is. It's a loop, right? Meaning it start and it finish where it start, right? So we're gonna start off with the ask. We already understand what the ask is, so I'm gonna skip that. The concern is whatever objection that they have, right? To speak to the wife, partner, accountant, yada yada, my cat is sick, right? People are gonna have all of the objection. in the world not to buy, right? And your job is to make sure that your job is not to push them to buy, but make sure that you understand properly before you actually either push them a bit or actually let them go. Okay, let me say that again. Your job is not to push them into sell, but your job is to understand their perspective and their real concern and their real problem, so that you can decide whether to push them a little bit, right? Or actually let them go. Now, to give you an example here, guy, people that need a little bit of push is that people that quite naive and never have done it before. Let's say you're selling a coaching program, right? And it's to empower women to become stronger, independent women. And this woman's like, she's been a stay-home mom in a culture doesn't let her be independent. She's gonna be naive, right? She's gonna be very afraid to take decision. That's when you actually push them for their own good. And to let them go, let's say, for other reasons, right? When you have enough experience, you can make that judgment to either push them a little bit or let them go. The example for letting them go is like, if they know everything, you know that they have the money for the deposit, but they just won't do it, just like let them go. Hey man, it's not a good fit, right? Appreciate your time. We actually don't need you to be in this program, but I think this program is going to make a whole lots of difference in your life right now if you take it. So it's going to make a difference for you. I think you actually need it. So if you don't want to do it, it's fine. Just like, we just finished the call and I wish you the best. That's how you let people go, which is come to the disagreement, right? So let's go through the example because we learn best from the example. And just FYI, I normally go through the loop around 3 times. At the 4th time, if they still say no, I disagree. And then 4th no, because you don't always agree with them all the time. So we're gonna go through the example here. So the first one said, just leave it with me. I need to think about it, because I need to check with my accountant about cash flow this month. The objection here is I need to think about it, and possibly cash flow objection. Doesn't matter what they say, you start off with agreement, right? 100%. 100% John, gotcha. I would do the same thing if I were you. And then you want to go with clarification and acknowledgement. All right, so that is the clarification and probe. Just so we're on the same page, we're going to check, see if you have cash to afford the system. Is that right, Mr. John? Right, there's no need to do probing here, because they give you a reason already. So they said they give you a reason because I need to check with my accountant. If they just said I need to think about it, you just say, oh, what do you mean by that? So that's what probing means. And we also identify now that this could be a cash flow problem, which is a money objection, right? Unless the prospect add anything else. That's why we want to make sure here that there's nothing else. So we want to isolate. All right, we'll come back to the frame here. So after you acknowledge, you probe and you acknowledge, you want to isolate. Aside from that, aside from checking with your accountant and the cash flow and all that stuff, would there be anything else that would hold us back from getting started today, John? That hold us back from getting started today? I'm highlighting this as red because you want to use us, right? Not you. Us mean together. I'm on your side. Today mean that if we solve this concern, are you ready to get started today, right? Not tomorrow, today. So you want to use that 2 keyword, which is us and today. The other way you can isolate your objection, your concern, is that when it comes to speaking with somebody else, especially the wife, right? The wife or the partner, just say, well, let's pretend that your partner, aka your accountant, say everything is good to go. Would you be 100% on board to this? And they say yes. What I would do a follow-up on is that, let's just say they disagree. Let's say they don't want to do it. If they say no, then you can handle the objection right then and there. Say, why not? Right? If they say no, why not? And then they say, oh, right, so I thought you were the decision maker. So it's actually the other guy that is the decision maker. So the follow-up question to that is just say, what if the partner say no to this? What would you say? Would you be 100% on board still if your partner say no to this? Most of the time, the people that I bring to my sales call is decision maker because I qualify them beforehand. They say, look, it doesn't matter if they say no, I'm still going to do it, right? Because I am the decision maker. Right, so you just need to speak to them. So their input really make no difference to your decision making. So that's the frame I would go about it. We have the entire script that will cover this, okay? The next step is to address concern and ask. Let's pretend like you asked the prospect this question and she said no. Like aside from the accountant and the cash flow, there's nothing else that would hold us back. Now you would say, all right, so it's just the cash flow. So it's just either now or sometime in the future when you have enough cash flow, then you would ask them for the deposit. You only ask for the deposit when it makes sense to ask for the deposit. don't really just ask for the deposit for the sake of asking, okay? The only objection is money and finance, and you can address that by us again. So smaller commitment that makes sense this time. So what I said, okay, no worries, since our goal is to get you result ASAP, and if this is something that you want to do, we can reschedule another call to get an idea of what your finance is, to see what payment option we can lay out for you, right? Is that cool? And you say, yeah, let's do a follow-up call. So we ask for follow-up call at the same time. But for now, why don't we put a small deposit down to hold your spot so we can send the welcome email to access all of the private material. We're asking for follow-up call at the same time as a small deposit. Remember that small deposit is not a commitment. It's like 100 or 200 bucks. You don't need to ask your accounting for that, because if you do, you probably need to ask your accounting for everything, including going to shopping, because 100 bucks is pretty much a shopping grocery list. So, and if they say, all right, I need to speak with my accounting for like 100 bucks, like that's a lie. That's a lie. And you don't want to do this. Let's go to the force no, right? If someone say that, look, I need to speak to my accountant for 200 bucks. This is where you actually go to disagreement and force no. Well, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you know, you need to speak to accountant when you go to shopping and go to dinner. That's what 100 or 200 bucks is. It's one dinner. Obviously, don't just say, like, oh, John, that's a lie. Don't say that. Just find a better script to go about it, right? So we're gonna move on to example number 2, right? Which is, oh, I think about it. Can you send me more info about this? Now, this is very similar with the first example, but at the same time, very different, because this is a smoke screen. This prospect doesn't mention anything about cash flow or accountant. What you do, since it's a vague and smoke screen, meaning that you're unclear on what that means, you just say, definitely, I was going to do that after the call. 100% John, I'm going to do that after the call. She's sending you like more info about what we talked about. But just quickly here, when you say you need to think about it, what do you mean by that? So that's what probing mean. After you ask this question, you should get more transparent and real answer after this. And then you want to continue to acknowledge. So it's just X, Y, Z and A, B, C that would hold you from moving forward. Is that right? After you're probing, you get the real problem. You want to clarify that, like acknowledge that by listing all the things down. So that would hold us from moving forward, right, John? Like it's just this and that. And then you want to isolate, follow the framework, guys. That was still, well, aside from that, is there anything else? Right? There's nothing else, then you go ahead, actually address the problem and design it. Really just address the problem. Great. We do have a custom solution for someone like you, right? If they need to speak to their wife, we do have a custom solution for you. It's called a refundable deposit. How that works, John, is that you put on 200 bucks today, completely refundable. Once you spoke to your wife and let's say for some reason she yelled at you and are going to break up because of this, I'll refund you. Just come tomorrow and I'll refund you, right? This is what we have with like someone with your situation. Now, that is a script that I make it up on the spot. But if you click on this link, right, I actually gone and cover all of that. I need to speak to my wife. I can't afford it. I can't do it. And I would do it in the future. And then you go to ask and you go to force no. And I even give you like what to say with force no and ask you for the deposit. All right. So I really make it really easy for you guys here. So there's literally within this Google Docs. So you have all of the material you need, guys. And if you like this video, just let me know also. I would really appreciate that because it take a lot of time for me to put all this together, right? The force no is something that I want to go through quite a bit. I went through all of this in this doc, so you can read it word by word. Pretty much on the advanced side, after going through the loop multiple times, in the objection handling loop, right? The prospects always come up with reason not to commit, but just has not or is afraid to give a no. This is when you actually move on to disagreement and force no phase, right? So they say, oh, no, I want to do it. No, I want to do it. And then like they can't give you a refundable deposit. They can't put card on file. That's like the minimum ask, right? That means you should just force a no. This trust issue, and you should ask them as well. You should like ask them, hey, it seems like there's a trust issue here. Is there anything that I can do to help you, I guess, be a little bit more comfortable in this call, John? There's a trust issue and there's not much you can do but to make them more comfortable. Otherwise, just keep lower your ask. Again, this is more advanced. You don't have to do it. If you can't get past the trust issue, just like book a follow-up call. Anyone can get a yes on a follow-up call. So it shouldn't be that hard. This is more advanced. So, and then you want to use your intuition to disagree with their reason and call out their excuse or claim and force a no. So when someone said, hey, look, I need to check with my accountant and all that stuff, you need to use like, is this real or he just saying that? You need to know, right? And you won't know until you practice and practice and practice until you have the skill and the experience up your sleeve, okay? If done correctly, you can save time from having follow-up call with time waster or push on the fence buyer right then and there. So if you've done this correctly, a force no is actually push them to a yes, by the way. If you said, hey, it's not a good finish the call, it's not a good fit, I'm afraid it's not for you right now, you take it away, you take the offer away from them, that's actually make them want it more. You're actually pulling them by pushing the offer away, if that makes sense. So you're actually pushing them by pulling the offer away. So for the close, it's going to be about payment and onboarding. First, you want to make the payment process as frictionless as possible. So don't make them apply for this. And you always collect the payment right then and there, not after the call. Like, hey, send me an invoice, send me the link. I'll pay it after. Not that. On the call right then and there. They're on the call for you for 30, 40 minutes. Like, what is 2-3 minutes extra going to do, really? And I start by grabbing card info and processing it. I personally share my screen to reduce anxiety. So let me just show you what that looked like. I'm inside my GoHighlevel right now and I'm just talking to myself here. You can see here, this is my own contacts. And first you need to make sure that this sub account, this account that you're using is fully integrated to Stripe for this to work. The way I normally process, like I said, I was on a Zoom call. I would have this open even before the prospect come onto the sales call. I click on payment, right? And what I do is that I click charge now, okay? And when I click charge now, and I can I can choose the currency, what to charge them. I normally stick with USD and I give an amount, right? Let's say $50 and I put a description, right? The description is that system, like that unique system. So I'm going to put ABC system, right? 6 months. So I'm going to put something like this and I click add a new card. Okay, so I'm going to do that really quickly. And like I said, hey, John, so how it works is that we just need your card info to process that, right? To process like the 6K or 5K that we have. And then after that, we can schedule an onboarding call with you. And then they say, if you feel like they have a little bit of anxiety of giving the card information in front of you, one of the things that I can do to help is just like share my screen. Like I just like go on Zoom and share my screen. Right, so look, we just have like a simple form like this inside our software. Like I'm just making you an invoice right now, so it's $50 for this, just your card info, and your card info wouldn't be saved in our system. So yeah, ready when you are, just put in the card. So when they say like the number 635 and then just type 635 in front of them, that they know that it's going into the system. And it's like really simple. It's like, it's not storing anything. It's not being fussy. If they say, oh, right, like I'm not comfortable of getting your card in, like I'm not comfortable, man. I'm not comfortable, right? Of speaking, like reading out the card info over Zoom, right? Cool, like no worry, John. What we have as well with our system, we could just send you a link, right? We send you a link that you click and then you could just pay. So how you do that again? Make sure that you have SMS, right? Make sure you have SMS capability that you can send text. So you go to SMS and you go to this $ request payment. Again, the same thing, put in the price, $50, $500, and you put the, let's say you put Stu ABC here, and I don't mess around with the due date, but I normally make it due today. Just like, I don't mess around with advanced option, and I click copy and mark a send. So, and it's auto generate invoice and I click send. What I do is I go ahead and copy that and I click send before I click send. And I just drop that in the Zoom chat. And I also do that on the email as well. I just do that on the email as well, invoice. So just making sure that the text is not there. I just send it so many ways, right? I just send that through email, Zoom chat and text. Look, just send you the link. Yeah, just let me know when you're ready. You can just put the card on your end, right? Let me know, okay? Right? And then just wait, right? Just like shut up. Don't say anything else. Don't like just let them do it. Like some people are like go like where's my card? Let me just grab my card, right? Yeah, just like don't. This is like probably the most uncomfortable moment in the entire sales flow, like speaking from experience here when I just first starting out. And this is when you actually start to talk about dog and cat and fish and goldfish and golf, like, and talking about unnecessary stuff. Like, this is the most uncomfortable yet the most important. So you need to like stay quiet and let them put in their card information, and don't speak about dog and cats and golf. All right, you're nearly there. Like, it's the end of the process. If they're not comfortable, like, send a payment link. Right? Don't get off the call until it's done. It's that simple. You made it. This is a very long training. Only 20% of the people who attend the course will get to this far of the scripts, right? You're an action taker, guys. Consider joining our lead to do role play, personal call review. So we actually inside our lead mastermind, right? You can role play with the team member or even with myself, right? Or even with our closer on board right now. What we can do to help you with your sales process is that we're going to review every recording to make sure that we can, like, you know, you shouldn't say this, you should say this instead, to make sure that you not repeating the same mistake, because it's going to cost you opportunity, right? And then we're going to customize the scripts to your niche, to your style, to your personality a lot more by being inside our lead, right? This is where we're actually able to help people one-on-one, hands-on, you know, actually give them a guaranteed outcome. So make sure you check it out or not, it's up to you. But this training is for you anyway. So anyhow, if you like it, let me know. Yeah, download the scripts and tell me if it really makes you money. And hopefully it does. And we'll see you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoy watching the video, make sure that you also checking out this content right there.